Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Productivity Mastery with yet another inspiring leader here with us this morning, or maybe for you it's the afternoon, but for us it's the morning. I had my morning coffee with me. Unfortunately, Hedi didn't have the chance, my guest did, to get hers due to the coffee machine, right, Hedi?
Yep.
But very, very happy to be here with somebody I've been inspired by now for a couple of years and following her journey, getting inspired by her lessons. And she's not just an exceptional startup founder, an executive, somebody with a background from the corporate world. Now she's using that to build her Insurtech company, leading people, growing the company. But she's also, I would say, for me at least, and I think you guys are going to see that during the episode. I feel she has gained a lot of wisdom, and we've had a few conversations in the past couple of years, and every time I leave inspired, but from a very practical standpoint. So I'm very happy to welcome this morning Hedi Mardisoo, the founder and CEO of Cachet. Welcome to the show, Hedi.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
So Hedi, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and specifically what inspired you to leave the corporate world and to start your own company?
So maybe even I'll step one step back. I've always wanted to kind of build my own company. I think this has been something I've felt since very young, and I've had many ideas what I want to do. But my journey actually started even before maybe the large corporations I worked in, because I think the first 5 years of my career, I worked in a very startup-like company, but in the year like 2002, it wasn't really called a startup, but it acted, and the culture and the way, the visions and the way everything worked was, I would say, exactly how every startup works today. So I think I got my taste of startup world before I joined the corporation, and why I did that was, or why I then left the corporation after working there for 9 years, because I started to feel that I felt and I remembered the speed and rush, and I started to feel that, okay, the world is really moving ahead faster, and we are sitting in a very, very nice, very comfortable, very organized big ship, which is taking its course. You have lovely people around you and everything is beautiful. But if you look around, look outside of it, you start to say, oh my God, we are actually leaving behind. And I felt that more and stronger. And I think that was the main decision why I decided to jump out and see the other world as well.
And now, after 4 years, what are some of the key milestones for you? Not like for more perspective of what are you focused on, and how big is the team?
So yeah, I think in a way I was thinking about that as a topic anyway. So what has, and reflecting back a bit on the 4 years. So I think and I kind of came up with my own one-liners for each year. I think one of the kind of first year when you get into coming from a comfortable environment, I think the first year is all about putting your personal risks and everything in. But I think the reward, what you get back from it, is the kind of absolute joy of doing what you love and what inspires you and everything. And I think the years 2 and 3 are everything about proving the hypothesis and making the product market fit work, and trying to understand if this is something that actually works, and then really start to scale it. So I think the year where we are now as a company, we actually 3 days ago celebrated the kind of 4th birthday of the company, but launching wise, we are 3 years now in the market. So I think the kind of now the year really starts to grow in every matter. So as you asked about the team, we have doubled the team since January. So we operated very lean on purpose to really prove everything what we wanted to prove before we really put the kind of gas pedal on. So right now we're 20. and we will actually add quite a few more people this year and the beginning of next year as well.
Talk to me about that. That's super interesting. So you guys doubled the uh, number of people in the team. How has that been, the journey of, and again, you said we have this very lean team, and I would imagine, by the way, I saw somewhere on LinkedIn that you've been responsible as well in your previous job for defining the culture, the values of organization. I know that's very important for you as well. So can you maybe tell us how has the journey been of doubling down and maybe even 3x the number of people? What have been some of the challenges and to stick everybody to work together properly? Like, just lead us through the journey. I think is very, very interesting.
I think in a way, if you are such a small team, like 10, 11, basically under 15, then starting to build some big culture programs, etc., is not really important. It's more like doing the work and enjoying each other's company. But when you grow more than that, the culture part starts to kick in, because if you're smaller, then you kind of feel where everybody is and what everybody's doing, and you kind of are so incredibly focused around the same mission. So if you grow larger, then the culture element obviously starts to kick in. But at the same time, it's probably the most fun time, because everybody now who joins, probably until we are 50 plus, brings in their own additional culture elements, and then it's more like do we want to learn and bring that one in as a kind of as a team culture, or is it something we need to kind of slightly, I would say, polster out? But I think currently we are in this amazing phase when everybody comes in. It's like the fantastic addition to our culture, and it's a real privilege to get in, like, from different cultural backgrounds, nationalities, etc. And I think this is the time when really the future culture is being shaped. So I would say it's super exciting times. Obviously, currently most of them are on the honeymoon anyway, so they come in and everything is fantastic. So I think that the hard time might be when everybody has been here for 1 year, and then they have their ambition and everything connected with that. But I think it's been a fun half year to bring everybody in and actually grow as a team and really divide the task. And I think probably that has been the main thing, that if you are 10 and not suddenly you're 20, you obviously need to give away some of the task, and when that has been probably the main focus. But I think it has been so far relatively smooth journey for us. So.
And was the process of talent attraction, also involving this culture bit? Like, how important is for you and for the organization the culture of fit of somebody new that's coming in? Because I mean, there's many founders, early stage founders, listening to this podcast, and I know as founders we always tempted to get the best person for the job, especially for the least possible amount of pay we should pay, right? So I wonder how important is for you and for organization, for people to not just be great performers, but also to be a good culture of it.
I think since one of the things that definitely united us with Cachet's co-founder Kalle was also the kind of underlying values of first of all like us as a person and how we click there, but also the overall vision where we want to go really united us. So I think the overall value bits is super important for both of us, and from both angles, that are people actually passionate about this area, because to make people super passionate about insurance, sometimes it's not the easiest job, but I think everybody who has joined us have understood the kind of what we do, or what's the fun part of it. But if you talk about the value part, I think for me this is the natural first interview. I think with every person I speak, that's the first thing when I'm interviewing. That's the first part, and the other things are obviously super important, but these we filter out in the home task or other topics. So.
Right, and I love what you said, because I think that's something that and I coach a lot of startup founders and in this area, as you know, and one of the things is how do we motivate our people? How do we get our people passionate about what we do? Not just when you get to something new, there's this novelty effect, right? Like you're very excited the first few weeks, maybe, but how do we consistently keep our people motivated to build with us, to grow with us, to have this passion, involvement, engagement, and um, I wonder if you have any advice. And you've been leading, teams previously. Now you're leading your own team, growing it. What are the do's and don'ts, so to say, when it comes to engaging people, motivating people to show up, to be there, to be excited about what they do on a daily basis?
Well, I think that the largely it is about the overall vision where we want to go and the kind of understanding that we're changing something, or there is some sort of problem in the market or in the world that needs to be that we have a certain recipe that we believe would work to fix that or help that or support that. And I think from that side, we have seen very clearly that in the platform economy as such and the platform work, it's an amazing possibility for millions and millions of people to work where they want, when they want, flexibly, and everything. It seems like such a natural way we should operate, but there's still so much to be done in order to make that possible for everybody, and so we wouldn't miss out of the kind of normal benefits and normal lifestyle that we have got from the 9 to 5. So I think that this journey itself inspires quite a bit of our team, that we know that, okay, we can actually make a difference in quite many people's life, and we're building for the future. And I think both me and Kalle are personally very kind of driven and passionate about that. I think that definitely kind of wears down to the team. So that's kind of one element around the vision. But the other element around that one is that we try to give people as much kind of freedom and as much kind of possibilities to be curious of what they do, and actually kind of do the things their way as much as possible. And I think that's something it's easier being done in a smaller team, and obviously much harder in a larger team where everything's already in place. So maybe we just are, and being just humble of not trying to show off that we know everything, but it's more all humbleness of the time of the journey where we win as well. So it's a really fun time to be in a company which is really growing at this from kind of, I don't know, less than 10 people to up to 50 people. So it's just you can give in so much, and you can, and we are looking for people that actually are driven, or I've said in a couple of podcasts as well that especially if you have a good corporate background or something where you work, but you have this kind of how to say, rebelness inside you. So I've started to call them professional rebels, that basically you wanna, you understand how the kind of big structures everything work, but you feel that, okay, this is not really it, it's just built for the process and doesn't work, and you can then build up things much better and much faster and much more efficient. And I think this has been something that we probably can connect with many colleagues coming from the political world. We have people coming from various different industries, and I think this is something that slightly maybe unites us, that we can see we can do things kind of maybe better than and more, not from many other areas, but just as a way of working and executing.
So in a way, it's a lot more personal approach. You try to understand what people want to develop in, what are they're excited about, what do they like to do more of, and from managerial perspective, you allocate them more responsibilities that are reflecting those passions. Is that?
Yeah, we'll try to do that as much as possible. Obviously, you can't do the 100%, that you only do the things you love, but I think this is more like trying to listen in the right places and get those passions kind of, how to say, fulfilled.
I love it. I love it, Hedi. I don't know if you've read fully the book. By the way, guys, Hedi was one of the founders that was kind enough to contribute to our first book, Perform the Unsexy Truth About Startup Success. In the chapter of roles and responsibilities, we talk specifically about that, where the zone is, where we can match um, giving people responsibilities where they have strengths, the skill set, and they're passionate about doing these things. Because sometimes we could be really exceptionally good in some things, but doesn't mean that we really love doing it. And of course, startups, everybody has to do what they're good at, right? So we can move forward. I'll do the trash sometimes, like, right? But what are the things that you actually love to do? And those of you listening who may be having a small team right now, that's your unique advantage. You can't compete on salary with some of the big corporates or McKinsey's, BCG's. I just read an article the other day. I don't know how accurate it is. I think it was from Forbes, but they said McKinsey, Bain, BCG, right now they're considering offering 250,000 for a starting salary for the peak performers, for the MBA students. These are starting salary, right? How do you beat that? You can't beat them on numbers. Well, maybe you could, the listener. I don't know who you are, but you can. What you can do is this personal approach, as Hedi is talking about. You can care for people. You can try and see where they want to develop. You can offer them um, responsibilities and ownership. But I'm actually curious, Hedi, how do you do that? Like if we can go down into the trenches, like do you have one-on-one conversations a lot with the people when they start a company? Do you use any tools and personality tests or anything to be able to understand people better?
Well, with some of the key roles, we do use a professional kind of headhunting firm, and they have done some of the pre-screenings. But I think largely it's still the kind of filter of understanding the kind of professional competencies and understanding the kind of personal. I'm not even saying that everybody needs to match the culture we have in, because I in that sense I believe the diversity is good. However, what is important are the kind of still the, I would say, values of such, and also the kind of, do they have a passion in them to kind of be curious, and do they have the kind of drive to work and actually get things done? Because I think this is one of the core things that some people either they do have or they don't have. And I think to understand and get the kind of feeling of the person, where they light up, and what topics are the things that they are really driven to do, and if that matches what we believe their role should be, then that's a good fit.
And what makes you believe this person has what it takes? I mean, you can see the LinkedIn, you can see their background, but what tells you this person has the attitude, they will do whatever it takes, they're actually the right person for the job?
Honestly, obviously we can't fully, there is with people, you are never 100% right. So we have also probably have our learnings from hire and fire some people faster, and with some people we probably overestimated some of the qualities, and that's okay. And but that's the both ways journey of you building a startup. I doubt that there are any startups that haven't let any people go, or any people have left from in the early times. I think from every startup there, that's quite a normal process, that you kind of have some sort of small churn as well along the way. It's yeah, I think, and that's okay. That's, I would say, it's obviously hard to let people leave or go, or ask them to leave when you're in early days, because you kind of grow together. But I think it's good for both ways, and especially it's actually very good for the company as well, when especially the worst thing for the company is when there is not kind of when there's not a match, or this doesn't feel like going and just keeping it alive. So.
And Hedi, you are based in Estonia, this small, beautiful country. And again, it's a small country. Is it less than 2 million people uh, living there, right? Yet, if you throw a rock, you're probably going to hit somebody running a startup or running a successful startups. There's many great companies that came out of the region, which means also that I would imagine, and we had this conversation a couple of months ago, that how do you actually attract the best talent? Because there's now not only the corporates, but there's many progressive companies that are fighting for getting the best people on board. And I wonder, how does that happen? Like there's many other markets like this, which, the top people are not unlimited, right? Like, so what do you do to excite and inspire people to join your board instead of somebody else's board?
Well, I'm doing this kind of podcast, for example, and other things, but basically, I agree that the fight for the good talent is hard, but I think also it's often hard to say which is the right talent, which is the best talent, because there are still. I like that you said that not above more than 1 million, bit more than 1 million people, but less than 2 million. So I think that's much better. So if we look from that perspective, there's still less than 2 million people, which is quite a few. Plus also today the kind of remote possibilities are limitless. So I think it's. In some ways, obviously, and in some areas, the top talent is extremely needed, but in some ways as well that it's hard to say that if this person has graduated this university and worked in that company, that right away makes him or her a top talent for your company. It's hard to say that often like that. So it's I wasn't a top talent when I maybe came from Swedbank to the startup world. So they wouldn't recruit me because I come from corporate, but often they don't know me. So I think that's one of the things that it's a good learning to kind of dig deeper. Also, especially the companies that get thousands of CVs, it's super hard for them to see which to filter through those, and probably then lots of top talent actually gets passed out and not selected. So I think these kind of things need to be kind of thought through more carefully. There is not only 1% talent that can help you to be successful with your company. So I think that the pool is much wider. But nevertheless, of course, the hunt is on. We are hunting from some other companies, or the other companies are hunting from us. That's how it works. But I think if we look from the higher perspective, it's all good for Estonian ecosystem and hopefully the European ecosystem as well, that good people move around a bit and they help to kind of build good companies from multiple good companies.
So you're hunting from other companies, they're hunting from you, and then at the end of the day, you go and have a drink together. The Estonian ecosystem.
Well,
fair game.
Business is business. Fun is fun.
Right. No, but I actually love the Estonian community. Very sharing. People collaborate, kind of introduce to each other. It's a from my perspective as an outsider, it's a very collaborative community, and people want the others to win. It's not just about I need to win. It's like we want to win as a community, as a society, which is definitely a great. And by the way, those of you who are listening, if you're considering joining a startup team, here's Hedi.
We're hiring.
She's hiring. She's doubling and tripling the team. She needs excited, passionate people. Hedi, that's a great place now here. What kind of profile of people would you be interested to have on board? And it's more about the type of person, the type of culture, the type of personality. Who should be considering, knocking on your door and saying, "Hi, Hedi, I want to work for you"?
Well, we are today hiring largely like a typical Estonian startup sales and marketing roles, which there's a long legends about Estonia and sales and marketing, but we don't need to go in there. So we always need good sales marketing talent to kind of from also outside in. But what? So how to define? I think the people that we believe are a great fit for our company are the ones that if that you have a domain, I don't know, you're a data scientist, that really you want to educate yourself constantly. There's a constant learning and open mindset of things that you are not getting stuck in your beliefs that that were put in your brain in your first university course and job, but you constantly have this mindset, and that's why I stress quite many times curiosity. So both the kind of open mindset of new things, trying to kind of see how things are changing, shifting. Because if as a company we try to run 5 to 10 years ahead of what's really out in the market when we think and develop our future, then those people that constantly are curious what's happening in their domain are the ones that we really like. If you're talking about passion for us is like that you really define what you like, and if you get excited and passionate about this journey that Cachet is on, then you really want to put 100% in. That doesn't mean that you need to sing the same song that I don't know, Kalle and I are singing, but you also can contribute in opposing us in some ways or whatever, but for the good of the company. And I think this kind of thing is something that but one thing is super important, and why we talk about the kind of professional rebels, not just rebels, is to kind of understand how to do these things professionally. You probably can imagine being an insurance kind of startup and Insurtech. It's we are very careful looking into, obviously we are licensed, so we are following the rules of what has been put on us on the local FSA, and obviously it's super important to be compliant. And from the other side, we also are a data company. So for us, we love GDPR. So we wanna make sure that people. I think probably we are one of the few. But for us, why we say we love GDPR is that, and the kind of philosophy around it is not that we want to say that okay, every person needs to delete their data and delete everything, but it's more like empowering people via their own data and giving them the kind of possibilities to get smarter financial products in the future. And I think that's the reason why lots of these things need to start to circle around the person and they're being more under their control and everything connected to that.
All right, you heard the lady. They love GDPR. They they have a great culture. They're progressive, so make sure to go check them out and see if there might be some position that you would be interested to join. And you know what I'm when you were speaking, Hedi, I was thinking about that, and it's something that I'm always, trying to figure out how are founders and leaders of startups actually deciding who should we hire. Like how early do you have a plan of we need 3 people in sales and 4 in marketing? It's always this kind of a decision making which I'm curious about. And just to give you an example, my co-author, which you know as well, Cristobal Alonso from Startup Wise Guys, he's what fascinates me about the way he thinks about talent attraction is it's 12 to 24 months ahead in a way. Like he's not waiting for the time that he needs to hire and then to put an ad and start chasing people. Could be the case sometimes, but he's trying to talk to his managers and say, hey, who do you need to hire in the next 12 to 24 months? Then he discusses with them, and he has a few, so to say, positions or roles. And because he's traveling a lot, he's meeting people, he's going to places, right? He will go and drink lots of coffee with lots of people. Hey, here's this girl, Maria, you should meet her, she's doing this, okay? So and he will start having some sort of small collaborations with them, or meeting them a few times, getting some feedback and recommendations for other people. So when it's time for him to hire, he actually have a few leads already for each position and role, which I think is super smart. And that could be, I guess, also done long-term strategy in terms of with doing some sort of events and community building where you can have a bigger pool of potential talent. But I wonder, what's your thought process when you are about to say, all right, now we got a round, or now we need to hire 3 more people, but should it be 3, should it be 5? Like how do you decide on this? It's very interesting.
So in the early days, how we did it was like what we discovered, like 90% of people who we know or around us and in the environment are willing to do also side gig from their real work. So what we did was we tried to lure some of them to do a side gig for us, and then try to see if we can lure them in fully. So that's dating before for marrying. But I think well, what you described sounds amazing, brilliant, and way to do that. But however, I think when you are running or when you're driving 200 kilometers an hour and at the same time building a car, then often this is a luxury thing to think ahead 2 years and start to have lots of coffees. We do that, and we actually have recruited some people exactly with the same logic what you described. But if you ask if I know that who I need in like exactly 1 year time or 1.5 years time, I can't say. I kind of know, but I don't really know. Okay, I just But obviously, all the conferences, the same thing is super important for us for exactly the very same reason that partly the conferences we go for are exactly to attract talent and to get to know lots of people, and even if it's competitors or partners but for us always the equally important is attracting possible kind of recruits. So but what else we do? We obviously do all the typical things. We are trying to be in many events. We try to arrange interesting things with the team, and I think the core is that to get our team and also actually partners to be the ambassadors. We can even mention that some of our really good recruits have been done via some of our partners, like via their recommendation of some of our partners that are in the area where we need to recruit. So in that sense, I think we have been pretty good in using our network and the network that has built around Cachet to get the good talent in, and so far it's worked really nicely.
And what are some of the challenges, if you may share, of hiring in such a speed? And like how's the situation? Like is it smoothly kind of onboarding people, or is it kind of you're ready mentally for a bit of a more bumpy ride because the first few months people coming in, so many new people, like how's that going?
Well, I know some startups that have recruited almost 60 people a year, and I think this is so we are in a pretty, I would say, pretty okay speed and balance, and I think it's not that drastic. We are today completely packed in our office, so we are hopefully moving out in during next month. So that's one of the very practical things. So I need to put a sign on the door that please don't come in, and now they are packed in another room. But jokes aside, I think that there is obviously practical things, but work-wise, I think I still feel with this size of the team, it's very, very empowering for everybody to have new faces joining and some of the workload lifted, because then we can see quick results in some areas. So if you bring in, I don't know, a product manager for someone that takes deeply and really gets it fully organized and properly analyzed, etc., before you just had limited time to do and had to cut corners. I think this is what everybody is enjoying currently, and we feel more kind of excitement and empowerment from that. If we probably grow 2x now, it's already other typical questions that are going to come. There's going to be some sort of leadership layer that needs to focus more on strategic and less on operational, and but this is something that is ahead of us. And I think currently the first layer is hopefully myself and Kalle. We can get rid of lots of operational things that we still are today quite involved with. So.
And maybe we can kind of move to that topic a little bit, the management part, and what do you do with your co-founder to in terms of strategy, in terms of goal setting? Do you have any specific method or process that you guys are following, and do you measure and assess the objectives in some way? How do you manage and run the company?
So we implemented OKRs this year. So it's the kind of first run. We are now starting to prepare for the next year patch of OKRs. So obviously there's a good learnings from it, what we can do better and what was done very well. So what it has been our kind of goal from the day one is to try to minimize always the red tape and try to be more as efficient as possible, but obviously have a clear focus at the same time. So I think this is something we always keep in mind when we put things in place. So currently, yes, the OKRs and the overall kind of sales and KPIs basically what we follow. Nothing more maybe exciting.
And that does a thing about everybody's looking for the magic pill, and like it's like, hey, there's OKRs. By the way, for those of you who are listening who don't know what's OKRs, it's objectives and key results. You can go Google it. It's not a rocket science. And if I can refer to a book on the topic, Measure What Matters, by John Doerr, who implemented OKRs in Google and make them work efficiently with this system. Again, it's not a rocket science, but it's the consistency, just like everything else in building a successful company. Consistency beats any method. Consistency. So yeah, go check it out. If you're not doing anything structured, you might want to consider checking something like OKRs. And again, coming back to the title of the book, Measure What Matters. You might want to have some sort of a process so you more frequently look into this. Objectives and key results and how far you're going, what are the challenges around it, do you have to do and make something to change if things are not working smoothly. I'm sometimes amazed how you know startups do not frequently, many of them would set goals, but frequently not having assessment meetings and to be able to adapt and to see how they're going to work on the progress, because we're so busy, right? We're always busy and we want to go places. And I'm wondering, you mentioned now that you're trying to delegate a lot more operational things to the people that you guys are hiring, but if you look into a normal week of yours, what is the percentage of tasks that go for getting things done, being down in the trenches, operational, as opposed to strategic, strategic thinking, feedback and coaching the team, leadership, those kind of things? What percentage is with you?
So it depends a bit of the time as well. So if you're part of fundraising, then it's hard to put down a day or something to kind of read and strategize, I think. But right now, what has been my aim, and I'm trying to do one full day a week where I'll try to basically cut off the meetings and really focus on either killing the task list or really kind of digging in some longer term and visions and strategies and everything connected with really digging deeper. My ideal solution, and the stress is ideal. So I've been trying to execute the logic that I'm working from my summer house, few days a week, and rest of the time in the office to really kind of just physically distance myself. But obviously, it's not something I can say that I've managed to do even half of the times from where I wanted. But I think all in all, if this is probably the split that I would see is ideal. So that the three days is focused on meetings and in the office with people, and then few days more on the distance, one way traveling, conferences, or then other kind of more focused driven topics. So as I said, that's the ideal. I'm still striving towards that myself as well.
But I like the fact that you even physically trying to separate, like, I'll be in the office and then I have in my summer house or working from home, whatever, where you still have to respond, reply, get some calls maybe, but for the most part, you're trying to do deep work, to be more strategic and to be uninterrupted, so you can actually get done those kind of things. That's I think it's a good way to. And how do you manage your time on a day-to-day basis? Like do you, are you a to-do list kind of person, or what do you do to make sure that you stay on top of your priorities with all the different distractions?
As you know, I'm not getting younger as well. I discovered, and I decided that it used to be times when I really memorized everything, but yeah, to-do lists is quite important. So I know that otherwise it's not going to be very easy. But I've worked out my own solution or own way of doing things. So where I have few places where I put certain types of notes, so I know that when to check something from where. And also I think the kind of I think the hardest part is there's so many performance and different types of tools available. I think the hardest part, is it the notebook that works actually the best for you, or is it some sort of other tool? I think this is the hardest decision and hardest way if you don't have that already predefined. But I took some time to really get this one sorted for myself. So I think this is one thing. It's really important for every leader of the company to kind of focus and invest time into make sure that your own personal productivity and exactly note taking, and this is on bar, that you can actually keep track on what's important and what needs to be done. I think that's a hygiene that needs to be learned quite early on. So.
I think one of the great things about having a to-do list is you have a space, a place where when there is an idea, task, something that you might forget in the future, you just put it down on your, maybe physical notebook, or maybe I'm using spreadsheets. I'm that old school, I guess, or whatever app you're using. It just download it from your head, put it down there, and then you can easily be more focused in whatever it is you're doing at this very moment, right? Like it's up in the to-do list. I'm gonna have a look at it. Otherwise, if you keep everything in your head, it just gets overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, I have to do this later. No, just put it on the list. Sometimes you can even place it in your calendar and say from 10 to 10:30, I'll respond to this email because it's very important. Put it in your calendar, and now your brain knows 10 o'clock, I'm going to look into this specific result that needs to be produced. Amazing. All right, let me get back to having a podcast with Hedi. Right? So, are you the notebook kind of person, or do you prefer using some sort of tools or apps? Or
I have both. I have also a notebook with me always. So it depends on the meeting where I know what kind of content. So if I want to write down more some of the concrete thoughts, then I do a notebook. But if it's more like tasks and to-dos, then I use more kind of digital tools. So.
And I'm curious also to hear where is Hedi being inspired from? Like, where's the inspiration? Do you have any specific, let's say, during the years you've been following some business leaders, role models, like read some books that completely change your mindset around how to lead teams? Like, can you share with us what leadership style do you believe in, and whether you had some really impactful role models?
I think I've been extremely lucky in my past. I've had three really amazing leaders that have been in my life. From my first job till when I was in corporation. So I've been lucky. I really they were all in their own way extremely talented and inspiring. So I think I definitely was quite a bit shaped by kind of the way they reflected my strength. So I think one of the when I was thinking, because you actually asked that question for me to think about before, and I thought hard, and I think one of the things that I was end of the day thinking, three of them are all still my friends. And I think this is something that is maybe a good definition if you look back for your career, that who have actually inspired and impacted you. So I think this is one topic that I would bring out. But how I felt that they impacted my life, and what was really good about what they did themselves was I think I felt, and maybe that also very much reflects in the way I kind of manage and lead the team, is that one thing that was most motivating for me, that as a very young girl going into quite masculine kind of world of IT, I felt that they always believed in me, and they even believed more than probably myself in the beginning, that they knew that I can do it. And I think I constantly felt that I was shaped in an environment where I was kind of inspired to put 200% in. And I think this is if someone would ask what is the best leadership, is to kind of create this environment and this kind of atmosphere and everything, that a person that comes in that has their talents, everybody has, but they can bring it out 200%. And I think this is probably was incredibly important. And I really have always worked very hard in my life, because probably because I've been feeling that there's someone that appreciates that. So that's maybe one thing to just highlight. I don't know how conventional it is, but this is what I feel. And from, if you're talking about the role models of more kind of larger world, obviously, I think I've had even the luxury of working 1 week when I was quite young in Apple, Cupertino. So if you're talking about something that has inspired, is probably, if I take the overall Apple world. So yes, I'm guilty of being a bit of a fan there, but I had a luxury of working with some of the top designers of OS X in one of my first companies, with in Cupertino, where they redesigned basically our product, or helps. Because we were one of the first business software back then on Apple that really like bookkeeping and everything, and how they worked and how they did like how they looked into design and everything connected with that. This was something that I would say is a thing I never forget. So and the kind of way they approach things, and all the kind of culture in Apple, and I do have read all the books around it and everything. So if I ask for, I'm not saying, as you can see, I haven't said that it's Steve Jobs, but I've on purpose, but I've said that the culture that I've felt and the kind of overall Apple that they have put out. So this has been something that maybe have inspired me from outside. So
I did interview once a former executive from Apple, and he was fascinated by how they're doing things there, and this sort of like drive and obsession to produce incredible products, and to all the customers with the products, like flawless, incredible, beautiful, remarkable products, right? And one thing he shared with me, and I don't know if that's the Apple culture or that was his personal take, but it was like, leaders needs to understand your people are not there to work for you. You're there to work for your people. So you gotta show up every day with this hat. If I'm the leader here, meaning I need to make sure everybody is well taken care of. Everybody needs anything they need to do their job. And beyond that, when they have a bad day, they know that they can rely on the leader to have their back. So that was really kind of an interesting shift of perspective. Because still, there's many, I think, leaders who believe I hire these people, I pay them, that they have to give me something, right? And there's an exchange, right? But also this mindset of I'm there for my people, I'm the leader. It's very interesting. Great. So let's move on then. Apple. That's actually I didn't see that coming from you. That's interesting. I'm curious if you can also share, since we're on the topic. Are you a reader first of all, or are you do you like listening to podcasts or reading books or?
both. I think podcasts, since I kind of changed out my car to a bicycle some time ago. So then I think the podcast listening, that's why I love to, that's a good motivation to always step on a bike, because you can listen to podcasts. So I think this is, so I'm definitely listening podcasts. But and reading wise, I love to read. However, I think this has been a kind of maybe a hard part of the founder's journey as well, that you read so much everything, like articles, surveys, that often, to kind of really switch off and focus. I think this has been harder. So this is my kind of favorite time when there is this quiet focus time during weekend that I can really. So I do both. But if you ask which one, if I think from company book and kind of business book wise, I actually prefer to listen to even audiobooks. So that's I don't know if it's that we've grown up in different conferences, but for me audiobooks there are better. But
what's a very inspiring business book that you came across in the past 12 to 24 months, let's say?
There has been few. It's hard, but I think I've been reading more on the notion what I need. Some year or something ago when I needed to understand everything about startup boards and before that's about scaling and all that. So there are lists. So it's gonna be hard to kind of list concrete ones. Like right away, and I can't bring out one. I think this is, as I said, I'll try to find from, if you're talking about OKRs, exactly measure what matters. So there are different disciplines that are important, but I can't say out that one business book or other one shaped everything I believed in. So it's and maybe more that my interest lies in trying to understand the kind of behaviors and psychologies of people and how the kind of maybe more the different habits and behaviors are being created and I think this is much more maybe shaping and defining as a leader than just reading a concrete, very very well thought through frameworks. So that's why and you can't both are incredibly important. So I wouldn't be able to maybe run successfully OKRs if it wouldn't be for a couple of those books that really made it very clear and very simple. But at the same time, I might have my own journey might have been more shaped like as a leader from some of the psychology and more focused on the behavior and that topic. So.
I love it. It's very practical the way you say it. Like at the moment I'm very interested in these kind of topics. They're important for the business. Maybe it's like, okay, sales. What are the best sales books out there? You start getting inspired. You get ideas. You apply them, and you grow in that. Either it's reading or listening to an audiobook, or all of them, including podcasting, for example, listening to some people who've already been there, done that. So great. Everybody should read books, guys. Go read books. This, consistently. This is whoever I speak to, maybe 98% of people that are very successful in whatever they do, people on my podcast, people interviewed for the book, they're avid readers. They listen to audiobooks or they read books. Read books. That's something. That's my message. And
good for the brain.
Good for the brain. Final topic I want to cover with you, Hedi, is and I gotta tell you, you have this presence. You have this wise, calm. Like you seem confident, calm person. Like that's my every time I meet you, it's like I have it all figured out kind of person, right? Like when people see it from the outside, they'll be like, she's smashing it. She's a rock star. I mean, she's just going around building things, and I've heard from many people, by the way. I don't want you to blush now, but I've heard from many people in Estonia who referred to you as, oh my God, she's so inspiring. I follow her story. She's my role model. And I know for you are very humble, but what I'm trying to get into is now it's like, what do you do on your bad days? Like, do you have bad days, first of all? When you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you don't know how to go about certain things. Tell me about the other side of the story, the unsexy part of being an entrepreneur, and how do you cope with extreme stress and pressure as an entrepreneur?
Of course I have bad days. Everybody does. I don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't, but I think kind of what has shaped me a lot is that the way I've been working since I'm young. So I've kind of learned it all the hard way to understand how to balance myself, starting from eating, ending from sleeping. So yeah, I've been following myself since Aura was Kickstarter. So I've been one of the very first early adopters there, and this is something that I've tried to keep as you know, the one that use Aura. I try to keep my readiness score above 70. This is one of the things. But if I talk about what other things, how obviously the most important part of that is my family, that and my kind of husband. He's just amazing. I wouldn't be able to do that if I wouldn't have a strong support and understanding. Not only support, no one needs just pat on the back. It's more like understanding from home that to build a startup is time consuming, it's stressful, and I think this is so whoever is listening and has a spouse that wants to do a startup, it's not only about trying to kind of pat on the back. Is very much about understanding, and the other part is obviously friends and people that I just enjoy spending time with. And I think this is what the main thing that's with what I kind of unwind. Obviously, since I have two kids as well, and they are fairly active, so I end up. I've learned how to wakeboard now, so I've been wakeboarding this summer, and this is crazy and fun and challenging. And definitely, you have no time to think about work while you do that, and many other hobbies from which actually has been kind of pushed and inspired by my kids that I do. And this actually, and because I let myself be inspired by them for pushing me to some of the things I wouldn't do otherwise. So maybe this is something that I'm kind of, how to say, having an open mindset towards those things. But the third pillar, which is everybody who knows me knows the magic island called Muhu. So I have my little summer house in an island where I think half of the people in Muhu Island think that I'm crazy, or we are crazy, because we have done so much physical labor there that they thought that the people in the 21st century don't do these things. So this is this is something that I keep myself grounded. So I would say being in a nature, or being in a kind of different environment and doing the difference. Maybe I'll actually tell one thing. I don't know if it's the right time, but think about, because I love the place, because there people ask me not what I'm doing, as I'm a startup founder, I'm doing in a bank, working in a bank or something, but they ask me, they listen to it and they're like, but what can you do? So I think this is a good maybe thing to leave for everybody to think. One thing is that what is our title, what we do as an entrepreneur, what we build, what we do, but what can you do? So can you sing? Can you, I don't know, draw? Can you build something? And I think this is one of the things that is very healthy for you to think, because I've been asked that question in last 15 years 2 times, when it's like, oh yeah, well, I can do that. So figure out what you can actually do besides work, and I think that keeps you grounded.
I love it. I think everybody who's a founder, who's listening, needs to figure out what are my ways to unplug and recharge and vent off the stress and the pressure, because it's hard. Let's be honest, it's hard. It's there's so many things, so much stressful moments, and things that could stress you, and sleepless nights for many if you are running fast and you have high ambitions, and things not going the way you planned them to go, even though you did your very best. So you gotta find your ways to vent it off somehow on a consistent basis. I mean, exercise is huge for me. When you exercise, like, really the stress feels smaller, even though there's the same events happening. So nature, as you said, is fantastic with walks and breathing. This is so simple, but having some sort of a breathing technique and practice that you do on a consistent basis, or in times of difficulty, to remember to stop for a few minutes and just to breathe deeply. Like simple things, but when you put them across your daily agenda or weekly agenda, then you have a better chance to navigate through the uncertainty and the stress. So, okay, final question, Hedi, so we can wrap up this beautiful episode. And it's there's many, as I said, founders, many of them in their first, second year, who are listening to this podcast. What would be your message to them? You know, now that you're a little bit ahead in the journey, what would be your message to these aspiring, ambitious, passionate founders that want to build amazing startup companies?
Well, I think the key message is, and I know it sounds a bit bad, especially when you're in a sprinting phase, but it is a marathon, and I think this is something to keep in mind about all the matters, about your team, about your co-founder, about everybody. Just to understand that this is a journey that's not going to be likely 1 or 2 years. It's going to be likely 5 years and more. So. I think with everything, have in mind the quick runs, but at the same time, a bit longer perspective as well. And that's everything, privately, work-wise, relationship-wise, but obviously business-wise as well. So maybe this is something to just, especially for the ones that are in a end of first and second year. So.
Yeah, the sense of perspective, guys. It's a long-term game. Thank you so much, Hedi, for being with us here, and thanks everybody for listening. Finally, Hedi, I know there's many people who are now excited to maybe go check out. What kind of positions do you guys have? Can you remind us, where could people find you, and if specifically you are looking for any kind of profiles of people, it would be fantastic if you can share.
So today, the first person we're really looking for is a fantastic marketing person to our Polish operations. So, I think if you follow on my LinkedIn profile, I have the hiring link. I think it's connected. If not, then if you go to either in LinkedIn to Cachet profile, or you go to our website, cachet.me. So like Cachet me. So then you'll find it. So.
Cachet. That's how you spell it, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, not seeing the video. So you know where to go, guys. And thank you once again for being with us, for following the journey of Productivity Mastery, 122 episodes. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Most of the major platforms, we're there. And again, it's a long-term game. Make sure to play it that way, and hopefully you get a chance to build something meaningful in the long run. We've been here with Hedi, and we wish you both an amazing day.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.